Okay guys, good evening. In my previous video I gave a brief overview of the Unifi system and the pros and cons of implementing that. Um, One of the things that I had alluded to was the fact that you could set up separate networks for your if you wanted to give open access to your neighbors and things like that, but still securing your network and keeping the critical functions isolated. So we are going to go over how to do that, in this video. Now I'm not going to go through the whole process of logging into the UDM Pro because I already covered that in the previous video. We're going to start off with the dashboard, which looks like this. It has all the overview and whatnot of your network. Now down at the bottom, as you can see, we got to click on the settings. That will bring you into the actual configuration aspect, the actual controller interface, that sort of thing. So let's say you want to set up a public Wi-Fi network for your neighbors or for visitors when you have people come over for a length of period of time, for New Year's, celebrations, parties, or just, family gatherings, but you don't want them to have access to your critical infrastructure. So in order for that to happen, the first thing that we need to do is go into user groups, and you'll see that I've already got some user groups listed for my infrastructure, which the default, security and the smart are all unlimited for obvious reasons. Now when you create a user group, you can actually set bandwidth limitations, that sort of thing. So once you get to this page, you will want to click on new user group. Since this is going to be public Wi-Fi, I'm going to list it as Wi-Fi. Then as a rule of thumb, you can set whatever you want, but I'm setting this for 15 megs, and then I will set the upload limit to 5 megs. That actually will leave majority of my bandwidth for me and for the things that I run. So once you set that up, you want to click save, and then as you can see, it just added your Wi-Fi user group. So now after you add the user group, you will want to click on the tab that says networks. And then once you can see where you've got all your networks, and you're going to see a couple of things going on here. You're going to have different subnets, and then you're going to have VLANs. VLANs are important, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But you'll notice how it does the subnets for all the internal stuff is always /24. /24 simply means it's 255.255.255.0. That's just an easier way of doing it. Not all routers have the ability to do it that way, which is another plus for Unifi. Most of your business grade routers will have that. Okay, so you want to create a network name. Now if you remember right, our user group was Wi-Fi. Now you can name this anything you want, but for me to keep it simple, whatever I named my user group, I will name this network. So we will call it Wi-Fi. And then in the VLAN, you will want to type in any number you want, anywhere from 100 to, maybe, whatever. It has to, that's all up to you. So after you set the VLAN up, which the VLAN actually isolates the this particular wireless network from everything else. So once this is said and done, they will not know that they're on a Unifi system. They will not know the internal IP address to get to the Unifi, and they will not be able to access it. So we're going to go into our gateway IP where it says subnet. We're going to go 10.0.0.1/24. As you can see, Unifi automatically updated the DHCP range. Now I'm going to have it start at 10.0.0.2 because the .1 is, the proverbial gateway, and then the ending is going to be 10.0.0.254. Now, most of the time, the rest of the stuff you can set up as auto, but for me, I'm going to go manual. Okay, and I forgot I have to do a cut and paste on some of this stuff. Whoops. Okay. So if you'll remember yesterday, I mentioned something about my Pi-hole. Now we are going to use Pi-hole for our DNS, which will tighten security even down a little further. Okay, so we have that Pi-hole, that DNS, and then I'm going to add this this as a secondary. And the reason I'm adding this as a secondary is because I'm getting ready to change IP addresses, going virtual, which I briefly touched on yesterday, but I didn't go into a whole lot of detail, which that'll be coming up in a future video when I actually make the change. I'm hoping to do it this weekend. We'll just have to see how things are going. All right, so once you have created all of that, now the one thing I would tell you is IP6, you don't need it for the most part. If you do, then you'll need to drop me a comment or send me a email or something letting me know that you need it, and then I can actually make a video on how IP6 works. But for this setup, we do not need IP6. Okay, so just a couple of things on the top where it says the purpose. I always leave it as corporate. Then the interface is obviously going to be LAN, but again, like I said, they're not going to be able to access your local area network, which is why we've got different gateway IP address, which you can see here. It's got the broadcast IP, which doesn't matter to what we're doing. Okay, and then you have the option of setting up your own DNS, which again I recommend using Pi-hole because it will block a lot of the ads and stuff. And if you have kids, things like that, you can set it to block a lot of adult content as well, which it is effective. All right, then you have the option of setting up DHCP guarding, which I haven't. You can, but it's not a requirement. So once you've got the network set up, you hit the save button, and then as you can see under your networks, you now have the one for Wi-Fi with your gateway. And actually, that gateway does not look right. Well, actually, yeah, it's not too bad. All right. Now, once we set that up, we go over to wireless networks. Then you create a new wireless network. And here, remember, I've always been using the Wi-Fi name. So we are going to type in Wi-Fi. Then you will want to leave it as an open network. Then you go down to select network, and remember that network in the profile we set up a few minutes ago. You'll want to hit Wi-Fi. Once you hit Wi-Fi, you come down to advanced options. Now here's some things you can change. You can set it up for both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, or you can set it for 2.4. The drawback on the 5 gigahertz band is that the range is limited. However, the 2.4 gigahertz has a better range. However, the speed on it is a lot slower. So for this particular network, since it's going to be limited anyhow. We're just going to go with the 2.4 gigahertz. Then once you get done, down there, you can prevent the SSID from being broadcast, things like that. However, because it's an open network, I do not recommend doing that. Let's see. Then, like I said, Pi-hole does pretty good at blocking some of the other stuff. So, we'll leave everything here. PMF, leave it as optional because I've run into issues where it was required and some of the devices would not connect for whatever reason. And I think that's got a lot to do with WPA3, which is still a relatively new protocol that had not been set up just yet. Okay, so once we have everything set up, as you can see, we will come down here and hit the save button. And then if you get that, you don't update, so on and so forth. Now, once that has been set up, you will notice on all your Wi-Fi devices, they'll start to say provisioning. That is because the access points is getting the updated data to broadcast that access point on, or broadcast that Wi-Fi network on that access point. Provisioning usually for this does not take a long time. So, it, like I said, just takes a minute. Once it's done provision, then people can get on your Wi-Fi network, and you do not have to worry about them getting into your critical infrastructure, your printers, your network attached storage if you have one, which you should get one if you don't, or your servers if you're running those, that sort of thing. Basically anything that's hardwired, they're not going to be able to access from their devices. Now, with that being said, they will not be able to access any of the other wireless networks, provided you have security set up on those, which obviously you should. So with that being, and it looks like that these have all been provisioned. So let's take a look at an access point and see what we have going on here. Let's see here. Okay, so you can see, we have the 2.4, we have the 5 gigahertz, all that stuff there. Then down here at the bottom, we have the WLAN, which is wireless local area network. And you will see that I have, all of my networks on there. I've got, IoT, I've got Ingersoll, and then I got Ingersoll 5G, and then I have an IoT 5G. And then, as you can see, there's the Wi-Fi, for public access. It's on channel 11 for right now. So that is how and once this is all set up, then you will, basically anybody can get on your network. Like I said, there's more to, the security aspect of it, which we'll get into hopefully tomorrow night. And that's where I most likely will, well, actually, no, we probably won't get into that tomorrow night because that's going to involve, more intricate knowledge of, Pi-hole and that sort of thing. Tomorrow night we will be covering in detail on the firewalls and, that portion of the security. And then Friday night, and this is all depending on several factors, we will be, getting into, like I said, the Pi-hole, the Linux side of things. So, like I said, with that being said, this is the Unifi system. As you can see, it took us, a very short amount of time to set it up. And actually, we're only 15 minutes into the video, and we're all done for, tonight. And then, after it's all set up, then you can have your various devices connect to it, Apple, Mac, whatever you want. And then you shouldn't have any issues with that. And in fact, I'm going to, try to show you how to actually connect to the Wi-Fi network on an Android device. I don't know how well this will work regarding the fact that this is not going to work out well. Anyway, so if you have an Android device, you go into your settings, and then you go into something like network and internet. Then you have the Wi-Fi option. You click on that, and then it should show up all your Wi-Fi devices, and then, or Wi-Fi networks rather. Then you click on the one that says whatever you named your Wi-Fi, which in this case we named ours Wi-Fi, and then it'll connect. You have options of setting up capture portal, that sort of thing, where they actually have to click the connect button or the terms of service. If you want to do that, I don't. Just because it's, there's no point. It ain't like you can catch anybody doing anything. But there is that option, and I will tell you this, that Unifi does have a pretty good forum for, people like me and you to, get on there and ask questions. However, Unifi's support, let's be honest with you, sucks. They're not exactly too good on support, but everything else seems to be, pretty decent. Between, the forums and YouTube and Google, you should be okay. And then, of course, you can always reach out to my channel as well, and I'll, help you out. And if you have any, questions, comments, that sort of thing for any of the, future videos, feel free to leave comments, and then we can go from there. And if you haven't subscribed or hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and then make sure you hit that little bell so you're notified of new videos as they come available. So with that being said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll help you.